Jeff, I wanted to first ask you how you thought the NFL handled the situation last night. I'm not talking about the medical stuff that happened on the field. We all agree that, it seems perfectly done and it was necessary. But your thoughts about the NFL handling the game and waiting, I think it was 71 minutes to announce that it was going to be canceled.
Yeah, I thought it was strange that it took so long to suspend the game for the night. And I thought it was even stranger at the end of the night during the conference call for Troy Vincent to just to slam the door shut on, or to at least try to slam the door shut on Joe Buck's reporting during the broadcast that the teams were given 5 minutes to, or were told at some point that they were going to have 5 minutes to warm up after the field had been cleared to resume playing. The logic behind that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And, but I think beyond that, there was some real leadership shown by Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott in taking control of that situation, getting their guys into the locker room, having them have the opportunity to reset and do what they ultimately believed was or make a decision that they ultimately believed was the right one for the night. And the teams, the players, the coaches in separate locker rooms, of course, came together uniformly and decided that they were not going to play again last night.
Did you think at any point during that 71-minute delay, and once you realized it wasn't and I hate to even use this term, but run-of-the-mill NFL injury, that this was something bigger and life-threatening? Did you think the NFL might consider resuming that game, just knowing what you know about the NFL?
I'm reluctant to put it that way, but there was, of course, a point when I thought they were going to resume a game, just because that's all we've come to know. And you look back at the Tua concussion back in was week 4 or whenever, that scary scene on Thursday Night Football, and they resumed playing. You think of all players who suffered severe or potentially severe neck injuries or back injuries and had to get taken away in a scary situation, and they resumed playing. So that's just what we were accustomed to seeing. And I think that's why, at least to an extent, you saw the scene where Joe Burrow was kind of warming back up, whether he was told to or just, that was the natural thing for him to do. Or you saw Stephon Diggs try to fire his team up to have the energy to return to the field if that was going to be their course of action. Because again, that's every time that these guys have had an injury or have seen an injury, whether it was minor, major, or in this case, severely major health implications, that's what they've always done.
Jeff Howe from The Athletic is with us here, Catttles Ramie, Sactown Sports. Jeff, now we look at what the league will do with Week 18. We obviously know that the Bills and Bengals game will not be resumed. The NFL announced that today. But just thinking of it from a time standpoint, Jeff, is there any chance that you would think that the Bills would end up playing on Sunday this week, given that it's tomorrow's already Wednesday? Hamlin is still reportedly in the ICU with only 50% of his oxygen levels being provided by himself. Any shot that the NFL would say tomorrow or Thursday, hey guys, get back to the facility and you're playing on Sunday?
Well, I want to hit on two things there. One is because the league announced today that they're moving forward with everything as scheduled, at least for now, in the moment now. And with that, the Bills are preparing as if they're going to return to work in order to prepare to play Sunday, as is every other team that has to deal with this. So it's the unfortunate reality that the league has put everybody in while they've said that they have not adjusted the schedule for this weekend. The second thing I want to hit on is just more of an opinion and knowing, again, the gravity of the situation. We know what's important here, but since we are talking about the future of football and the schedule and stuff like that, I don't understand why they can't just postpone the entire schedule for a week. Just push everything back a week. If you want, you have the opportunity to play the Bills and the Bengals on Monday night and then kind of just carry it a week later. You've got the bye week before the Super Bowl. It's something that the league has done before. specifically after 9/11 under very different circumstances, not trying to compare the two. But I can't imagine how difficult it's going to be for players to go out there on any team, especially the Bills, related to that, the Bengals, of course. But this is going to be a hard weekend of football for a lot of people.
Yeah, this doesn't just, I mean, when we throw around the term brotherhood a lot, but you look on social media and all around, not just the NFL world, but the sports world seems to be affected and shook by this happening on the stage that it did, Jeff, on Monday Night Football, of all places, where the whole country is watching, the whole football world is watching.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. And I think a lot of people really got a peek behind the curtain with that. And, for me, being in locker rooms for as many years as I have been and getting to know, I don't know Damar, but I know people who have played with him, have played against him, have coached him. I know people who know him. But it doesn't have to be that. It's more about, like, these guys are human beings. And when you're in the locker room every day, I'm not in the locker rooms every day now like I used to be when I specifically covered the Patriots, but you learn about these guys as humans. You learn about what's important to them away from the field, how they have families and kids, and how, they feed their kids, take their first steps just like anybody else would. Or, they get excited for their kids' first day of school just like any other father or parent would be. And they spend so much time at these facilities that, you mentioned the brotherhood, and I can see why that would sound like a cliche or just kind of a stock reference to the casual listener or whatever. But it really is. Like, these guys really are family, and they mean so much to each other. And to see how much they sacrifice to get themselves onto the field, sometimes whether it's the things that are, less important over the last 24 hours, like a high ankle sprain or whatever, they're doing it for each other. They're doing it for themselves. They're doing it because they've put themselves in position to realize a dream of playing in the NFL, of trying to play winning football for each other on Sundays. And that's why you saw the emotion that you saw on the field last night, whether it was from Josh Allen and his Bills teammates or, the guys on the other side and the Bengals, and, learning of, like, even the Bengals going back into their locker room and deciding, hey, we're not going to play tonight. Like, this isn't right. And the outpouring of support on social media, that's not for show. Like, these guys genuinely care about each other. And that's what you've been seeing for the last 24 hours.
Great stuff, Jeff. As always, my man, appreciate you. And we'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good night.
You
Thanks,
too.
Jeff.
There goes Jeff Howe from The Athletic on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. I was not going to ask him about the Derek Carr decision and some other stuff. We'll save that for next week. Frankly, it's not the time to switch gears and go all football there after speaking with Jeff about what we talked to him about. But it was, and right now, and Deion Dawkins, who was an offensive lineman for the Buffalo Bills, is on SportsCenter on ESPN, and they're showing the videos of the reaction last night on the field. And, you don't see that reaction. I don't remember seeing that kind of reaction from any athlete in any sport. I mean, I'm sure you go back, there have been some people that have been paralyzed on the field. There have been some people paralyzed on the ice in college hockey and the NHL, and you see that. But, last night was different, and not in a good way. Last night had all the gravity in the world to it. And I agree with Jeff. I think the NFL should err on the side of caution with this, and should, I just don't think it's the right thing to ask guys to go back out there and play this weekend. I honestly don't. I know that, could most of them get through it? Yes. But, if you can move it, then move it. If you can move the week, move the week. They've done it before.
I honestly